Hey, Chris Jenkins with Charlotte Vibe, joined alone today with Jordan Matthews of the Carolina Panthers. Thank you for sitting down with me. The fans have been talking about you. They want me to sit down with you, so I appreciate you taking the time before a big matchup. Each week is a big matchup, but thanks for taking the time.
No doubt. Thanks for having me, and it always feels good to know I'm being thought of too. So it's good. Yeah.
Hey, before we talk about this NFL journey, let's do what we want about how it got started. Let's start with the draft process. We got actually a few number one draft picks, but go back to your draft experience. What was that like for you?
You know, it's pretty cool. I mean, I had a chance to go early in the second. There was a chance I could go in the first round, so I actually got invited to New York, and that was a really cool experience for me and my family. I came from, a school in Alabama that nobody had ever gone Division I from. So I was the first person ever to play Division I football from my high school.
Let's shout out to high school. We got to see the name
Yeah,
of it.
Madison Academy.
Okay.
So now they're good. Now they've won a ton of state championships since I've been gone. Kerryon Johnson also went there, who played for the Lions a while back, running back. So they put more guys out there, but being the first guy to do it, college football is out of the question.
Yeah.
So NFL, being there on draft night, in New York, I never thought that would happen. I remember me and my brother were there, and we walked past prime time. He was going the other way, and I was like, I don't know how we did this and pulled this off. But it was a cool deal, man. And going to Vanderbilt, another thing was just we were just trying to be good in the SEC.
Yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams would people have thought that I was the best wide receiver in the country at that time, and had the opportunity to help my family experience that as well. So it was a great deal. Eagles traded up, drafted me, and that was the start of probably all the fun that I'm still having.
Hey, somebody trading up for you might have helped out with you going to that second round from the first day, right? A little consolation.
Well, what's crazy is a guy named Ricky Prohl called me the first day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, I think we're going to take you. And so I thought I was going to be here
Yeah.
a lot earlier. But then they ended up taking Kelvin, and then I got drafted by the Eagles. Ironically, they traded the pick with the Titans, so they were going to get me out of Nashville one way or another. And then they picked me up, but I couldn't have asked for a greater start, man. Going to Philly, I tell people all the time, it's literally like being in a movie. Every NFL team has a different culture,
Yeah.
different fan base, different experience. Philly has a very unique one. And when you're there, it literally feels like you are in a movie, from the engagement of the fans to the standard that you have to play at in order for you to even have a peaceful week. It's like you better go out here and represent the Midnight Green to the best of your abilities. And I loved it. I know a lot of guys, they get there, and I don't want to say they can't handle it. Everybody has a different disposition.
Right.
Some it works for, some it doesn't. But I loved it because I was like, you guys think you're hard on me? I'm way harder. And so it was like I said, a great start to, a career that I'm still blessed to be able to enjoy.
And we're going to be back in Philly in 2 weeks, maybe
I know.
3?
I know, it'd be crazy, right? So I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, your journey in the NFL has been anything but typical, especially with the Panthers, right?
Yep.
What do you think fans misunderstand the most about being a player who's not always guaranteed a spot on the roster?
Well, there's.
And then let me give a little bit more backstory to it. When it was announced that you got released last week, Twitter question of the day was, can we bring him back? Have we used all our times up? Can we still bring him back? Yes, we can. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, some of it's also like roster gymnastics too, which I think is something that a lot of people aren't very keen to when it comes to what goes on in the NFL.
Yeah.
I actually a big change happened in 2020, and I think this is something that a lot of people need to start to realize. There was a real big shift after COVID. Before COVID, practice squad, I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right, you can only be on there for 3 years, pretty much.
Yep.
Once you were a vested vet, you were either on somebody's 53-man roster or you were out the league. So, people always say, hey, average span of a career is 3.5 years, 3.5 years, 3.5 years. That number actually is going to go up soon, because now you can have vested vets. You can be 42 years old and sign to somebody's practice squad and then get elevated 3 times, and now that's another season. See what I'm saying? And so because of that, they did in 2020 kind of to combat guys possibly missing games because of COVID. Well, all the owners got together and was like, wait, this is kind of a weird way we can actually expand our roster. We can take a guy that we know can play on a Sunday and literally keep him in-house, keep him in shape, let him learn the offense, and now he's just here. We treat him like a person on the 53, and then when we need him up, Now we don't have to go get him off the street. He's right there in our building every single day.
Yeah.
And so, and even just the pay, like Adam Thielen tells a bunch of guys about his journey. When Adam was on practice squad, he was making like 7,000, maybe 5,000, something like that. I mean,
per week. It's not all per week. It's just that week.
Like you can make 21,000 now on practice squad. And so that's vastly different from how it used to be. So, when it was like big news, you would see somebody got released, it was like, oh my gosh, it was like their dog died or something.
Yeah.
Now, lots of times you'll get released and they'll say, hey, we're going to call you in like 6 hours. And so is it ideal? Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, like I want to play, I want to play every Sunday. I believe I can help a team be as successful as possible. But at the same time, too, I believe things happen for me, not to me. And so whatever the case may be, I go out there and work my tail off. And when I do get the opportunity to go play, I'm going to give my all and keep going.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Are there any specific moments or conversations with teammates or coaches that have stuck with you through this journey?
Through this journey, Chip Kelly probably had one very significant thing, told me a very significant thing. I think it was my second year. So my rookie year, it was just, it was like cutting butter, man. I just flowed. Like I had like 800 plus yards, 8 touchdowns, 60-something catches as a rookie. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because now as time goes on, people kind of forget those things. But I'll go to anybody and say, like, I think you'd be happy with Xavier and Jalen if they'll give us 800, 8. That's a good year for a rookie.
Good year, yeah.
So I was just like, oh, this is easy. Dude, my first, 4 games, my second year was just bad. I would put too much pressure on myself. Monday Night Football, I had 10 for 100, but I dropped the pass that would have helped us kind of continue a drive, and it just stuck with me because I was like, I'm supposed to be better than this. I put way too much pressure on myself. Another thing that happened was we played the Carolina Panthers my rookie year in Philly, Monday night. Had like 140 and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. I think Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly were looking at a picture of me all offseason like, these guys are not going to do. There was no room. We came out here, my second year, there was no space. Those guys just dominated the game. Every time I caught the ball, Luke was right there. Over here, Thomas is right there.
Yeah.
And my confidence was just waning. And I started wallowing in self-pity. And Chip Kelly came to me one day and he was like, hey, Jordan, I'm going to let you know something. 80% of people do not care about your problems, and 20% are glad you have them. And then he just walked off in true Chip Kelly fashion. And, immediately I was like, oh, my gosh, that's true serum right there.
Yeah.
What am I, walking around here acting upset does nothing for you in the NFL. This is a grown man's league. If you want to pout, go do that at home. But when you're here, it's all about winning each week. And so now when I say it stuck with me, I'm in a role now where I've experienced everything. I've had great success. I've been drafted high, been cut, I've been traded. I played 10 plus years. I know what it's like to go for 100 yards. I know what it's like to be off a team for weeks at a time. I know what it's like to tear ACL and rehab that at age 30. So I can meet anybody where they're at. And so when I see a guy starting to feel sorry for himself,
come here, young fella.
Come here. 80%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
20, right? And then I just let him know, dude, I got sons now. So it means a lot more to me. I got 3. If one of my sons was going through something hard, would I say, hey, go in that building and pout? I would never do that. I'd say, hey, snap out of it. Mm-hmm. Don't let them see you sweat. Go in there and work hard. Keep grinding.
Right.
Don't give them an inch. Don't let them take your joy. And if they don't want to recognize it, somebody else will. But don't take steps back. Well, if I would tell my son that, why would I not tell myself that? Mm-hmm. So now, I keep it going. I don't care what happens. Ain't nobody going to go hard at me. So that's pretty much it.
With the ups and downs that you talked about in the NFL, what or who has been your biggest source to ride through that journey? Oh man,
it's the word of God, man.
Okay.
I don't for me, I tell people all the time, if you just stay at it long enough, something good gonna happen. Denzel Washington once said, if you stay at the barbershop long enough, you'll get a haircut. You know what I mean? I just believe, if you get out the fight, it's too much now you give God the opportunity to do. But if you stay in the fight, man, he can bless now. So, he's in the blessing business. So for me, I'm always just like, man, just keep going, stay in it. They got to kick me out, and then I'll find something else to do. But for me, it's always been the Lord, man, just continuing to speak to me and say, hey, keep going. You're not done yet. There's more you can do. Even if it's not for this building, it might be so your 6-year-old son is old enough to start to see dad working, and then he'll know what it looks like, and then he'll go. But as far as people, man, I got a great wife. Like, my wife played pro soccer.
Okay.
So she's an athlete, so she understands. And I don't know if guys that's married, like, they know that wife ain't gonna let you pout. She's like, hey, come on, like, you gotta get going.
Yeah.
And so she's always helped me continue to stay strong and stay lifted.
How competitive does it get in that house with the wife being a pro athlete as well?
Man, she's a bigger shark than I am, honestly. Like, we was talking about that the other day. Like, we have these different tendencies, right? Like, when it comes to leadership in the house, like, I take that mantle. Like, I hold that banner.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're doing this. We're planning this. We're going here. And she's like, you got it, babe. But for some reason, if we go to Dave and Buster's and go play the little basketball, it's like she's just like, I'm about to kick your tail. And she does it like, I mean, it's unbelievable how she just is like, how she competes. If we go golf, she is competing. Like, that's where she does her best work, man. So I've always told her, like, other decision-making things, she's like, you got it. But when it comes to us competing against each other, sometimes I'd be like, look, I don't even want no smoke. You got it, babe. Like,
So
you
briefly, who wins those competitions most of the time?
I'll truthfully say that, like, she gets me a lot of times.
Okay.
She gets me, so, but I will say I married her, so I guess I still won. So it's good. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's speed through a few more so we can get you back into that locker room. Coach Canales, in his first year, you've been in the league for a long time. What have you noticed that stands out about Coach Canales and his leadership?
Yeah, Coach is he's a very cerebral person. Like, he's not going to be the type of coach that jumps out there and starts to get flustered and think, I got to get everything done right now. I've got to say everything in this first team meeting. He knows it's a marathon, and he treats it like one. So, like, his patience, I think, is one thing that stood out to me. Like, he's like, this is our scheme. This is how we marry up everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to trust it. It's going to work. Whereas I've seen coaches after a loss, 2 losses, 4 losses, start to get flustered, and now it's like, all right, scrap that. We're 100%. It's like, no, we've got a process. This is how it's going to work. And he has methods. Like, he's done things. I know, like, people are like, how's this thing going with Bryce? How's this thing going? He's handled all those things as good as any head coach can handle it. And now, as a team, you see us starting to mesh. You see the run game starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
You see the defense starting to get the ball out. These are all things that he preached early on: physical running game, taking the ball away, playing smart. We're starting to see some of those things take shape. We got a test now this week versus Chiefs, where I think is really going to show us a lot of, where we are. But I've been really impressed with just Dave's countenance, man, as a person.
Mm-hmm.
You don't become a head coach without knowing football. He knows it's football.
Yeah.
But his EQ is what's really impressed me.
Okay. We're going to round third base on this one here.
Go ahead.
What's known about this team at this point? We're a little bit more, are we week 10 or 11?
I think 11.
Okay. What's known about this team, at least from your standpoint as a player, that you didn't know in week 1 back in September?
What do I know about this team?
What's been established?
This team's really close.
Mm-hmm.
This team's really close. There's a lot of things that have happened that could have fractured a locker room, especially one that has had so much change inside and outside of it.
Yeah.
But the team's extremely close.
Yeah.
Guys are going out to practice excited. We turn the music up at practice. People aren't off to themselves doing their own thing. They're dancing, they're rapping, they're kicking it with each other. And that closeness, I think, comes from shared experience, right? So it's like adversity can do one thing, right? It can either, rip apart, or it can start to bring closer together. And I think we're seeing the latter. So I think people should just be excited that, this team actually loves coming to work together. And so if we're doing that, then I believe that good things will start to show up on the field too.
Okay, I could talk to you forever, but some people might cut us off. So we're going to wrap it up there. Jordan Matthews, appreciate you joining me.
No
Chris
doubt.
Jenkins for Charlotte Vibe. Thank you all so much for tuning in.